not a joke.
I want to take you immediately to Richland School District 2, where they are at the podium right now. We'll come back here in a moment, but let's go right now to that live news conference about the school threats.
Schools every day. I was in many of these schools over the last couple of days. When you look in a teacher's eyes and you look in a student's eyes and see they're just supposed to be there learning today, and they're all of a sudden being ushered out of the building with very little answers. We want to provide a safe environment. We need the community's help to do that. Richland Two security and our information technology teams have been working tirelessly with the Richland County Sheriff's Office to get to the bottom of all of it. These threats, I can't address the threats. If you ask me what kind of threats they're going to be, I can't get into that at this time. That's one of those lines to cross. But I will tell you this. There's been a lot of conversations about metal detectors, more school resource officers. When you're talking about threats that are coming in, those are two things that would not help in this case. So school security has a lot of layers to it, and a lot of things we have to look at moving in the future, and the school board's committed to doing just that. Students who make threats like this, there's going to be severe consequences if they turn out to be students at all. Students have code of conduct that they can face punishment up to an expulsion and arrest. So with that, I'm going to bring Interim Superintendent Nancy Gregory to add her thoughts to the conversation.
Good afternoon. I want you to know that these are not easy decisions, and as Mr. Turketta shared, we have spent countless hours monitoring the situation and around the clock, and also debriefing and looking at what we're doing, but know that we have the best interest of our students, our families, our staff, and will continue to make the decisions that are best for them. So again, Mr. Turketta talked about this has been very traumatic. It is very unnerving. You know, we say we're all about student achievement, teaching and learning, but it's detracting and taken away from that, and it's got to stop. I've been in these schools. I've been in schools, been talking to students. I've talked to parents, talked to teachers. In fact, I met with the student government leaders earlier this week, and they've given me great feedback and insight. And again, we want to be sensitive to the needs of our families, again, our staff, just making sure that we're looking at each incident individually and all the factors that surround them and make the best decisions. Again, we're working with our school board, as Mr. Turketta said, and we'll continue to work with them on these events. We're putting all our resources available, but we shared with you, there are some resources that perhaps the public perceives as would meet the needs here, but again, that is not always the case. So we just appreciate everybody's support as we continue to work together. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Agostini. As chair of the Richland Two Board of Trustees, I am here to state that this board views the student and safety of our, the safety of our student and staff as our #1 priority. We are committed to looking at every safety enhancement we can make and are prepared to put policy and funding in place to keep our schools safe. Mr. Turketta.
So one final comment, and then I'll open it up to questions. I'll try to answer the limited questions that we can. To the people that are doing this, please stop. You're impacting our schools in a way that's harming students, and that's the bottom line. So it's not a game, it's a crime, and we really need this to end. I'll open it for questions. Yes, sir. Are there any suspects in this? That would be for the police to answer. Again, that would be a suspect description the sheriff's office would have to answer.
Is there any reassurance that the district could provide to parents?
In what way?
As it relates to the campus being safe.
After each of these instances, the sheriff's office obviously responds to it. They sweep the campus. So when there's a threat, they go through and they make sure that if anything was even mentioned in a threat or not mentioned in a threat, they put eyes on every floor and every classroom in the building. At that point, they determine the building to be safe. We have the choice to go stay in the building, go back into the building, or take our kids home. Out of an abundance of caution, we've brought them home.
How soon can we see these extra layers of security implemented in Richland School District 2?
Which ones are you referring to?
Metal detectors, just extra safe precautions.
Okay, metal detectors are a larger conversation that the school board is already having. There would be the acquisition of them, the staffing of them, and then the price tag that goes with them. But keep in mind, in the situation that we've been dealing with all week, a metal detector would have no impact. Yes?
Is the schedule for district schools tomorrow looking like normal, or are there any adjustments?
The 2 high schools involved will be going to virtual learning. The 2 middle schools obviously were only impacted for less than a half hour, so they'll stay on their normal schedules.
Is there any indication on when those high schools will return to a normal in-person schedule from virtual learning?
We are currently in an hour-by-hour situation of managing the crisis, so I would not even start to begin what Monday might look like.
So as you mentioned, the SROs, metal detectors, that's a different conversation for a different day. Ms. Agostini mentioned the policy and funding that will be put in place moving forward. Can you speak on what that might look like?
It's an ongoing conversation. I think 2 of the things you just discussed are in the conversation to be looked at. For instance, we had a presentation in the last month about metal detectors. You're looking at roughly a $2 million expense, and that's to put 1 metal detector in 1 school. Now, we all know in a high school there's multiple entrances and you want a single point of entry, but there's a lot that goes to that. The scary part of what we're dealing with is something as simple as a phone call can do this. And the bigger question then becomes what technology can be put in place to screen that out.
And so just to clarify, you're not making any connections between the schools, right? You said you're treating it as an individual basis. Is that right?
I would leave that to the police to do. My single point was the Spring Valley case has more complexities than the other 3 did.
All right, let me bring you up to speed, everyone, on what's happening. That is Greg Trichetta. He is with Richland School District 2 as the Chief Communications Officer. He spoke. Nancy Gregory, who is serving as the interim superintendent of Richland 2 right now, she also spoke, as did Lindsay Agostini, who is the chairwoman for the school board for Richland 2. What has been happening is that today, in fact, is the 3rd day in a row that classes around the Midlands, some classes have had to experience disruptions because of threats that are being made against the school, the staff, and the students. So representatives for Richland School District 2 have been giving this update on their ongoing investigation into the threats. But what it has meant, as Greg was explaining, is that some students have had to be sent home and do remote learning. This is not just happening in Richland 2, it's also happening in Lexington. So we do know, as of right now, schools that are on remote learning include Spring Valley High School, which is in Columbia, as well as Lexington Tech Center, Lexington High School, River Bluff High School, and then White Knoll High School was dismissed. We also know that Airport High School in the last hour reported that they too now have received a threat. Richland Northeast High School is under a caution warning. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact wording they're using. What is it? A hold status for them. So again, several schools between Richland and Lexington County receiving these threats, and that's why Richland School District 2 wanted to come out to the public and say, we are working on this. So far, the Sheriff's Department has found no credible threat, but they are taking it seriously. We will, of course, continue to get more information for you today, and starting on your news at 4, we will have full coverage this evening. Let's return you now to regular programming. We'll see you first today at 3 o'clock for Soda City Live. Have a good day.